Listen to these words of Khalil Gibran. Your joy is your sorrow unmasked. Gibran is indicating towards the duality of life. The truth is that life cannot exist without the opposites, and you will find this rhythm of opposites everywhere. There is day, then there is night. There is happiness, then there is sorrow. There is darkness, and there is light. And only because of this duality, life becomes rich. Let's try to understand this thing through an example. Let's look at music. What is music? Music is a constant rhythm of sound and silence. Each note followed by an interval of silence becomes music. Try to conceive of just sound without any interval of silence and you will get a monotonous beep. Try to conceive of just silence without any sound and the silence becomes dead. So in order to experience music, we have to accept the duality of sound and silence. It's the duality that makes you experience music. Now let's do something interesting. Let's replace the word music with peace and the duality of sound and silence with happiness and sorrow. With such a small change, we have revealed something extraordinarily profound. Music is something which happens when we accept the duality of sound and silence, and peace is also something which happens when we accept the duality of happiness and sorrow. Happiness and sorrow are just emotions, and most of our emotional life is a constant swing between the two. And the irony is that when it comes to music, almost all of us would choose music over dead silence or monotonous beat. But when it comes to our emotional well-being, almost all of us make the fundamental mistake of choosing just one extreme of the emotion and denying the other. And it results in such a strange paradox that the whole world wants to be happy, chooses to be happy, but remains miserable. And why? Because they make the basic fallacy of choosing just one aspect of life, happiness, and denying the other. We really need to understand that happiness and sorrow are inseparable. Happiness only has meaning because of sadness. If you're not going to have some bout of sadness in your life, you would forget to cherish happiness. But we fail to see this basic truth of life, and we just want to be happy all the time, and it does have its consequences. When you want to be happy all the time, two things are bound to happen. Firstly, while happiness is there, you would want to cling to it. And in clinging, there is tension, there is strain, there is this fear of losing the happiness. So on the surface, it might seem that you're really happy, but deep down there will be this lurking fear of losing this happiness. Secondly, while sorrow will be there, it's evident that you remain miserable. So you remain miserable throughout. Happiness comes and it remains a shallow experience. It doesn't reach to your core. And sorrow comes, again, you remain miserable. Our emotional life is reduced to this perpetual suffering. And the only way out of this perpetual suffering is to accept the duality of emotions. We cannot change external circumstances and situations in our life, but inwardly, we can become more acceptable towards whatever life throws at us. If happiness comes, good. If sadness comes, good. If this can become our attitude, then we can really experience inner peace. This is the secret of attaining inner peace. Peace does not mean, remember, pay attention here because this is really, really important. Peace does not mean an absence of sorrow. Sorrow is inevitable. Howsoever strong your shield of positive mindset is, things and events are bound to happen in your life that will shatter your optimism. So sorrow is inevitable. Peace means that you are okay with the inevitable. Peace means that you are comfortable with whatever life throws at you. Now, as a rational argument, it's fairly easy to comprehend that accepting the duality of emotions would lead to peace. But not many of us can practice it in our real life. And the only reason is a lack of a practical tool. So I'm going to give you one. J. Krishnamurti has said that the ability to observe without evaluating is the highest form of intelligence. This small statement left such a profound effect in my life. It just transformed me as a person. The whole idea is to observe everything that happens in your life without any judgments. When you judge something as either good or bad, you create a relationship with that thing. If something is good, you want more of it, the relationship is pleasant. If something is bad, you want to resist it, the relationship is unpleasant. And this way you are caught up in this endless friction of wanting and resisting, and a mind that is always going through this battlefield of wanting and resisting can never be peaceful. From now on, whenever you find that you are judging something as either good or bad, gently remind yourself that your job is not to evaluate. Your job is to just observe without evaluating. If you can observe anything in your life without evaluating, then no relationships are formed. And when no relationships are formed, suddenly you transcend the duality of wanting and resisting. For the very first time, you will experience peace. Remember, on the surface, all kind of things will happen. Happiness, sorrow, agony, ecstasy. But deep down, you will remain unperturbed by all this. So, pay attention to it, because this is really important, that you do not suffer because of these emotions that are happening on the surface level. You suffer because of the wanting and resisting. And when you stop evaluating anything in your life, then wanting and resisting disappear with it, and the peace arises in your being. Try it. Don't just accept it on a mere intellectual level. Try it, and with the small stuff. For example, if you're having food and you don't like the taste of the food, your conditioned response is to resist the taste of the food and want something else. Now, instead of having these conditioned responses all the time, I want you to do something new. Just observe. Break the spell of these conditioned responses. Observe. And suddenly you will find that the food is, and the taste is, and howsoever the food tastes, you are okay with it. This is what peace is. And I want you to make this peace a reality of your life.